Baby's first year is an important one for speech and language. A first word usually happens on a child's first birthday, more or less, but that is not when language first starts. Thousands upon thousands, millions of words have to be spoken to that baby, heard by that baby before that first word appears. The language learned in the first year builds a language base for years to come. A baby giraffe has just one day to learn a lot. He stands soon after being born, and his mother starts right away, encouraging him to first walk and then learn to run. By the end of the first day, the baby giraffe is running. What's the rush? It's a matter of survival. Lions are coming. That's the importance of an early start for giraffes. But we measure a human baby's growth in months, not hours. He is able to lie on his stomach and raise his head by 4 months. He can sit without toppling over at 6 months. He might first learn to crawl at 8 months. A baby takes a full year before taking his first steps and won't be ready to run until much later. Don't compare him to the giraffe, though. He is developing something much more complex and something much more important for human development: language. Babies know their mother's voice and prefer that voice very early. Babies have learned from hearing their mother before they are born, and now they learn to associate that voice to feelings of comfort and love. By 2 or 3 months, a baby turns to see who is speaking. They are listening to how their own mouth makes sounds too, as they coo and gurgle. At 7 months of age, their babbling sounds sound a lot like the sounds of the language spoken to them. A baby who hears Cantonese will begin to sound a little like they speak Cantonese. And a baby who hears English starts to sound a little like they speak English. They accomplish this by listening to you and babbling for practice. When a baby babbles, they hear how changes in the mouth will in turn make changes to sound. With ears, listening to mouth, control starts to happen. The baby needs practice talking and listening to shape their learning about how to make speech sounds, just like they hear mommy and daddy speaking. For a baby with hearing loss, this learning can happen through hearing aids, if we get the hearing aids on early enough. This learning through listening and babbling is the foundation for later speech, and it makes the attempt at pronouncing baby's first word possible. Before a baby says his first word, he has to have already learned a lot about how his home language sounds, and he can understand words like no and his own name before his first birthday. And the more babies hear and connect with language, the better they will grow. A large study showed that the number of words a baby hears between 2 and 6 months of age predicted their overall language ability 1 to 2 years later. And it turns out that some babies hear a lot from their parents and others hear very little. The baby of a parent that talks a lot hears more than 20,000 words a day. The baby of a parent that talks very little hears only about 6,000. Now that's a big difference. Let's look at how that difference adds up week after week, month after month. 2 babies might develop the same in terms of sitting, crawling, and standing, but the development happening inside can be quite different. The baby who experiences a lot of talking hears about 7.6 million words by his first birthday. The baby whose parents talk very little only hears about 2.2 million. And as we know, that will reduce that child's ability to grow in terms of speech and language. So what about the baby who has a hearing loss? If the hearing loss was caught at birth, that means he will get his hearing aids between 3 months of age and 6 months of age. Let's not give him credit for words spoken before this. Words won't be heard clearly, and words at a distance sometimes aren't heard at all. If his parent is low average in the amount they talk, this baby might only hear 1.7 million words by his first birthday. What if this parent also has trouble keeping hearing aids on, and the hearing aids end up on and working only half the time? This brings the number to less than 1,000,000. 8 times less than the baby who has been hearing since birth and who has a parent who talks to him a lot. But let's look at this again. What if the parent keeps the hearing aids on whenever the child is awake, and the parent talks a lot, just like the parents who talk at the top of the average range? Now, at 1 year, this baby has had a good chance to listen and to learn about the language of the home. So, what's the rush? How important is it to get a baby up and running in terms of speech and language before his first birthday? Very important. Preschool is coming. The key is to keep hearing aids on. Remember, eyes open, ears on. And with hearing in place, engage your baby in lots and lots of language. That's the importance of an early start for babies.